Hello class, and welcome to another class with Professor Choi. Today we're going to be learning how to do measures of central tendency and measures of spread of data. This is usually one of those sort of like beginning chapters in Intro to Statistics class or something of that sort. Alright, first thing we need to explain is that every time you collect a data set, there are two basic measures that a lot of us like to basically use in order to figure out where's the center of the data and where's the spread of the data. So we're going to start with the simplest stuff and we're going to move on to like the more specific sort of examples that we use instead. Okay? So we're going to start with just mean, median, mode, range, and we can probably calculate variance and standard deviation for this piece of data here, maybe mean deviation as well. But weight, mean, and geometric mean, we got to use it differently. Okay? So let's start by calculating the mean with the data set that we have. The following are students' grades in a particular class. So we got 86, 90, 65, 78, 98, and 65. Now, when you're calculating a lot of these, you're going to start getting formulas. So when you're following the formula, you're going to start getting a formula for population, or you're going to get a formula for a sample. When this is being done in an intro class, normally the professor will kind of guide you towards this is a sample or this is a population. In other words, the problem being explained to you somewhere will give you a hint of whether you need to be using the population formula or you need to be using a sample formula. And that is usually my case, especially on my intro classes. Okay? So I would sort of explain, I will guide and say, well, this is a sample or this is a population. Now in this particular case, when I wrote it down, I was being vague on purpose to again try to explain that. So in the case of a test, it will normally say the following are all grades or are students all grades in a class, which basically means that's absolutely everyone, therefore it's population. If I say something like the following are a sample of grades in the class, then that's how you know that this is sample data. Okay? So, in this case, we're just going to do population. Good? Because we define this as basically being everyone in my class. Therefore, when you're going to follow the formulas for mean, median, mode, etc., you follow the population formula. Now, normally for the simple sort of calculations, they don't make any difference. But when you start getting a little bit more advanced and do other things, then it starts making a difference of whether you're doing population or you're doing sample. Alright, so in our particular example right now, we're just going to do population because I said the following are students, all grades in a particular class. So that is everyone. Okay? So this right here is a population. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to count our population size in this case. So our n. The n is just the number of people. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students. So it's a small class. Alright, now to calculate the mean, if you're in one of my classes, I normally provide a formula sheet, and the formula sheet is posted online. If you are not in one of my classes and you're basically just learning this, understand that these formulas are available absolutely everywhere. So you just gotta, Google population mean and there'll be a formula for that. I'm gonna write it down every time I do it just so that you visualize. Okay? So the population mean formula is mu equals to summation of x over n. Now the n is going to be my population size, the x's are going to be all of these, and my mu is basically my mean. So we use the letter mu for mean if it's population. If it was a sample, then the formula will be x bar equals summation of x over n. And the biggest difference is that this is just the formula for sample and this is the formula for population, but the formula itself is very much the same. We're going to add the data set and we're going to divide it by n, which is the total number in the data set. Usually we use Greek letters for population and parameters, and we use regular letters with some kind of sign on it for samples or statistics. All right, so let's calculate our population mean. So mu, in this case, is going to be equal to summation of x. So we got to add all of our x's, got to do 86 plus 90 plus 65 plus 78 plus 98 plus 65. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of data. We're going to divide it by n, which is equal to 6. And that gives us our mean. All right. I like to do, by the way, a lot of this stuff on the fly, keeps my brain fresh. So I don't like using examples that I already know the answer. So here we go. 86 plus 90 plus 65 plus 78 plus 98 plus 65. And we're going to divide that by 6. So the number that we got is 80.33. All right, and that is our mean right now. All right, I'm going to write my mean right here because we're going to need that in order to calculate especially my mean deviation and my variance and my standard deviation. All right, let's go for the median now. To calculate the median on any data set, what you have to basically do is you take the numbers and you arrange them from smallest to largest first. So in this case, we're going to do 65, we got another 65, then we got 78, we got 86, we got 90, and we got 98. All right, now here's where it gets easier or slightly complicated. If your data set is odd, and imagine that I didn't have this 98, then the answer for your median is simple. You just pick the number in the middle, which is 78, and that will be your answer. But in this case, our data set is not odd numbers, it's an even number. Therefore, what we need to do in order to find our median is we take the two numbers in the center and we find the average between those two, and that's our median. Okay? So we got to do 86 plus 78, divide that by 2, and that's going to be our median. That's 82. All right? All right, now, our next measure of central location is what we call the mode. The mode is just the number that repeats the most. In some data sets, you don't have any numbers that repeat a lot. In some data sets, some numbers repeat a lot. In this particular case, the number that repeats the most is 65, so that's our mode. All right, so 65 repeats the most, and therefore that is our mode. Okay, so again, the mode is just the number that repeats the most, the one with the highest frequency. All right, cool. So we got all of that. Now let's do our range. Range is basically just the highest value on the data set minus the lowest value on the data set. So our range is just the highest value on the data set, which in this case is 90, minus the lowest value on the data set, which in this case is 65. And that is 25. So that is our range. All right. I want to thank you for watching another video with Professor Choi. I hope you learned something new. Remember, if you like my video, please like it at the bottom and also subscribe. Have a good one.